Welcome back to Snap Savvy Kitchen. I am your host, the fat, blue, and tattooed author you've never heard of, Danny Yuso, coming at you with tips and tricks for budgeting, getting the most for your dollar in the kitchen, and how to handle rising food prices. So today we're going to tackle ribs. Putting gloves on because it's working with raw meat. I always wear gloves with raw meat. Would have wore a glove with raw meat dealing with my husband, we wouldn't have our children. Learned a little too late on that one. So what I have is 2 racks of ribs that were on sale for $2.99 a pound is all. The label on there says $3.99, but with the Safeway savings card they end up being $2.99 a pound. So that makes them less than $8 a rack. And you can typically feed 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, about 6 to 8 people with 2 racks of ribs. It just depends on how big they are, if they're heathens like my kids, or if they want to eat so much you need to carry them to bed like my short king. So first, what you're going to do is wash up, obviously. Get your foil. I have heavy duty foil that I melted together by folding it down so it can fold over one piece securely, keep it all inside. Remember, the matte side is the non-stick side. The shiny side is the pretty side that doesn't actually do jack shit other than be pretty. So have your foil out ready to go. I also have a pan that the racks will go on, each individually wrapped. And I wrapped the pan as well because I have gone through a lot of baking sheets because of the brown sugar or maple syrup or honey, whatever I use to sweeten the ribs in the final cooking stage, got underneath the foil and stuck, caramelized, turned into a black mess I could not get off, so I ended up having to toss quite a few pans. So now I buy cheaper ones in case that happens, but wrap it with foil. And I have a rack on there, which you don't need, and typically I don't use, but if you do have a pan that comes with a rack, which you can get at Amazon, like 4 of them in 4 different sizes. They go from large down to tiny for 20 bucks. I think I paid $19.98 for mine. If they're on a rack, the heat will move around it, almost like a convection oven, instead of the heat just coming up from the bottom and cooking them. So I have my foil ready to go, and I also figured out my seasoning. So here's where we get into the differences in demographics when it comes to taste. We're trying to do this cheap and efficiently. Cheap and efficiently. So we have the white people seasoning, which is a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of onion powder, and they call it good. They're the ones that bring the nasty ass mayonnaise, potato salad soup to the cookouts. And then over here, we have our black people that love to season the shit out of everything. Mad props for that. However, the more seasonings you have, the more money it costs. And when you're doing barbecue, you can buy 99 cents, has every seasoning in your cupboard, in one little bottle for 99 cents. Makes it quick, simple, and easy. And if you hear the drilling outside, my husband's working on our deck. So this bad boy is just barbecue seasoning flavor. McCormick has come out with over a dozen. There's like Maple Smokehouse, there's Mystique. The barbecue one I did last time, it ended up being a really nice blend of flavor where it wasn't spicy but wasn't too sweet. It had that nice just barbecue flavor. And then my other rack of ribs, because I always do 2 flavors, is going to be this Black Cherry Chipotle from Kinder's. A little more money. This one was on sale for $3.50. You can see the size difference on there. It's about twice the size. Let me see, ounce-wise, 3 ounces compared to, where the hell are your ounces? A non-ounced bottle. Well, that's fucking nice. Oh, 6 ounces. So I got it for $3.45. I got this for 99 cents. Twice as much in here. I also have the Bourbon BBQ Sauce to go with the BBQ seasoning, and Black Cherry Chipotle Barbecue to go with the matching seasoning because I have a half bottle left, so we're gonna use it. You don't want your ribs to be so spicy they make your asshole scream when they come out. Ribs are meant to be meaty, tender, juicy, flavorful. And using pre-made seasonings is cost effective, it's quick, and you can store or stock up on them when they're on sale because you can use them for anything. Either of these you could use on chicken, pork chops, pork roast. I've even done them on turkey breast before to give it like a barbecue type flavor. You don't have to bust out the charcoal in a barbecuer to have barbecued beef ribs. You can do it in your damn oven. And in this case, we're going to slow cook them for about 4 hours at, what did I do, 280, 285? I wouldn't go above the 325 mark if you're going to do a slow roast or a slow cook on your ribs. You want to go nice and slow because then they marinate themselves in their own fat and juices, and it's really a hands-off thing until you get to the last 30 minutes, and that's when you sauce them. That's when you put your hands on them again. So it's a hands-off meal. You can do multiple racks. If you got an oven that has like 3 or 4 racks in it, you can put ribs on those and just fill the whole damn thing up. It's really good for tailgating. They go on sale usually before the holidays, before Memorial Day, before Veterans Day, before Father's Day. The irony, they don't go on sale the week of the holiday. They go on sale the week before the holiday. And they freeze really well. So if you have room in your freezer and they go on sale for about $2.99 a pound, grab some. There's different types of ribs. There's St. Louis ribs, which is a longer rib. These are short. St. Louis is usually about this long, and they have more fat. These are spare ribs, or pork loin back ribs, which is the end of the rib. So you get more meat, less fat. It's a shorter rib, which allows it to cook evenly without having dry spots from requiring more moisture, like you do with like St. Louis ribs. I've never been a fan of St. Louis ribs. I always screw them up because the cooking, it's a little more tedious. Short ones, good to go. They're usually a little bit more money. That's why I wait for them to go on sale and I get them done. So you're going to open up your ribs. I do it over the sink because, as you saw, there is blood in there. And I give any raw meat, I rinse off. Give it a good shake. So, here's the thing with ribs. Put these bad boys face down, and then you're going to remove oh fuck, I totally forgot what this damn thing is called on the back. It'll come to me. I'm just having the membrane is in the back. There you go. So you just stick your thumb under it. Sometimes it's easier to get off than others. And you just pull that bad boy off, toss it in the garbage, don't give it to the dog. And that opens up the meat on the back side of the rib, which there's not a lot, but you can put flavor back there with your seasoning. And if you have any fat chunks, I've got a bone sticking out here, I'm going to just pop off so it doesn't actually stab somebody. Got hanging meat, I'm just going to trim that off. Scissors, greatest invention for your kitchen. Just trim it up so it's nice and neat and even. It just makes cooking and eating that much easier. And let's see, so I get the membrane. Hey baby. And then membrane down here because it's split and I didn't notice it because I don't have glasses on and I'm blind as hell. So there is the garbage for that one. And I'm going to stick this one here and get into this one so they can get done at the same time. And if I know how to use my editing software correctly, I will just fast forward through this shit. There we go. Trying to get my finger under that membrane. It's a pain in the ass. Sometimes it comes off super easy, and other times you're sitting there for like 10 fucking minutes trying to pull this shit off. But it needs to come off. There's a tool you can get, but unless you're going to be barbecuing and making ribs and shit all the time, it's pointless to spend like $15 on it. When you can just do the same thing with your finger, you slide it in there. Lesbians would probably be really good with this. There we go. See how that just pulls away from there? Got a lovely sound to it. There. Woo. And I'm just going to trim this off. It's at the end of the rack, and this is not going to really, it's going to overcook. It's just going to be like beef jerky because it's just hanging off. So, both racks are done. Did you have a little extra? Yes, you did. Sometimes that membrane can sneak up on you. And it's a pain to get off. There we go. All right, so I'm going to toss. Doesn't matter. One over there. You work one at a time. So I have barbecue seasoning already. I'm done. And you're just going to shake the shit out of it. Cover. You don't want it to be so super thick on the bottom that it's going to turn gummy. You just want to give it a shaking, get the ends, then rub it in. Remember, there's not a lot of meat. There's not meat back there. This is just adding more flavor. You got your sides. Oops. You got it up here. Got your sides. You see you got your sides along here. Super simple. And now your front. Now this is where the cheap demographic comes into play, because you can do it nice, quick, fast, without fucking around. You don't have to pull out 10,000 bottles. You're not going to have to wipe down and sanitize 10,000 bottles of seasoning. Literally, that's it. What I like to do, which wipe my hands on an antibacterial cloth here, wipe them down. This is Country Crock, drizzle and sizzle. So what it is it's just pretty much like a buttery, a margarine type thing. And that's because I can actually barbecue ribs. But when you barbecue ribs outdoors, you put them face down, so the heat is coming up from the bottom, so it cooks that meat and it marinates itself in the butter and everything that pools up under it. Since we're doing them in the oven, we're going to have them face up. We don't need face down, so they're going to marinate, they're going to baste themselves in essence. And so what you do is you just take, pull your ends up, roll them nice and tight on there, roll up your ends, roll up your ends, pat them down, stick them on that down, stick it on there. You're good to go. Now we have the next one. Remember, non-stick side is the matte side, the non-shiny side. And now this one's going to have that Black Cherry Chipotle. Oops. What? Got to start at the bottom. Keep a routine. So this one you can actually smell the notes of cherry in it, not really the chipotle, which is nice. So it has a sweeter scent to it. It's going to have a little bit of a sweeter taste. So with pork, you can do apple, cherry. I've seen people do pear even. That just tastes like apple to me anyways. It's just more expensive. Pork pairs well with sweet. Beef does not. And beef ribs get cooked completely different, so don't do this with beef ribs. You will not like the end result. So when you give these a wash, when you first pull them out, that little bit of moisture that stays on there, even if you shake them out, that helps the seasoning adhere onto it. See? Super simple, just like that. I'll get a little more seasoning on the ends because these have longer ends. Nice, neat. Smells really good. There's a nice sweet cherry note to it that you can already pick up in the seasoning alone. So you can't get that by emptying out your seasoning cabinet to try to season the shit out of them. So now we take, roll it up, pat it flat, roll up your ends. You don't want to roll up your ends tight because you're going to have to get into these bad boys to put the sauce on them. So you want them just rolled over so you can unroll them and be able to open it up. So there is that. And then you just go into the oven. I left dirty glove on. Don't want to cross-contaminate. Huge no-no on the book. Toss them in the oven for 4 hours at 285, 89 degrees. Don't take them over 300. And in about 4 hours, you're going to have perfect ribs. And I will come back, show you how to sauce them, because you don't want to go to town with the sauce, because then you make this really thick, gummy, gets stuck on the back of your teeth type glaze that you can't taste the meat through. So we'll get to that part once these bad boys have been in for about 3.5 hours. So I'll see you then. Now that they've been in the oven for 3.5 hours, you can definitely smell them in the house. You're going to carefully unroll them. It's going to be hot. It's going to be steam. And there's juices on the bottom. So make sure you don't rip your foil, because otherwise that juice is just going to go everywhere. You got some coming out there. That's why foil the bottom pan. Ooh, steamy. So there you go. You got both wraps of ribs there. And I changed sauces from the peach, since we were doing a cherry, to a bourbon instead, to go with the barbecue flavor. This was on sale and I wanted to give it a try. I should have opened it ahead of time, my bad. So you don't want to drown your ribs in sauce. You want to brush them. And I'm trying to remember, this was the cherry chipotle, so we're going back here. So you pour it on and you lightly brush it, because you can build up how thick you get the layers of sauce, but you want to do that over while it heats up more. So the oven, now I have that preheating to 350 from the 285. That way it caramelizes. There it is, preheated, and we'll bake the sauce on there. Oops, making a mess. Heat that. We'll bake the sauce on there, and then you can brush it a couple times to get a thicker level or layer of sauce if you're into thick sauce. Remember, the thicker it is, when you go to take that bite, it's going to stick to the top of the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. So remember, too thick, you're going to make a gummy, almost gummy layer of nothing but sugar that's going to adhere to the back of your teeth. Pretty gross. So since this one's in a squirt bottle, just squirting it up and down. As my child would say, that's what she said. And the Kinder sauces, especially this one, is a thinner sauce. You can tell when you put it on because you can actually see the seasoning that you did first. You can see that through there. It's a thinner sauce compared to the bourbon, which is a darker sauce. So darker has more molasses in it. Molasses is sweet, but it's also very goopy. And it looks like that the Black Cherry Chipotle, they didn't go with the molasses. Most likely they went with something like a honey. Honeys tend to be a little bit thinner, and they do have a sweetness to them, but they can leave a funky aftertaste, which I'm not a fan of. That's why I try not to add my sweetness with honey. So both the ribs are dressed with sauce. I don't know if I can show you the difference without getting shit all over, but there they are. You got the darker bourbon, you got the lighter dark cherry chipotle. So I'm gonna stick those in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes, give them another brushing of sauce, and then let them cook for another 15 minutes. They should be ready to come out, and they should be pull away from the bone. Meat pulls away in one bite, so it shouldn't have a tug to it if you did a slow cook on there. If you do a quick cook, you're not going to have that meat that when you take a bite, it pulls away from the bone without a tug. You don't want a tug, you want it to just come right off that bone into your mouth. So back in the oven these go for another 20 minutes, and then another brushing of sauce on there. Let it go for another 15-20 minutes, and then you after a short rest, you should be able to go. So we'll be back. Now, this is the second glaze on both of them after being in the oven for 30 minutes on 335. Now, if you wanted a more sweet, you could do a sprinkling of brown sugar on there, but be careful. If you put too much on there, it will solidify and turn into crispy, kind of glass-like, where it will stick to the meat and you can't really separate it from the two, so you ruin it. Just a little bit, little like feather dusting, like that douchebag with the salt. Just little bit, not a lot. With these particular flavors of barbecue sauce, there's plenty of sugar, plenty of sweetness, and plenty of spice, so I don't need to add anything else. If you like yours really over the top seasoned, you could do a little sprinkling of your seasoning on top of it, again just on top of the sauce, so there's a little more bite. But remember, you're going to get that more salty flavor from the seasoning than you would have with leaving it alone. So be smart, test a little small section for next time, and pop them back in the oven for another 20 minutes, and you should be good to go after a 15-minute rest. You'll make sure you want to cut between the bones, and you can see the ends there. Those are your bones. So just cut straight down. There's your bone, there's your bone. So you just cut, whoops, sorry, there's your bone, there's your bone. Just cut right between them, straight down. There's your bone. God damn, I'm shitty at this. There's your bone, there's your bone. Just cut right between them. These are the cherry chipotle. If I'm saying that wrong, sorry. If you look at them on the side, see how juicy those are? And serve them with a side of beans, especially if they go on sale for like $2 for a can, for the good ones. There you have yourself dinner for, well shit, with this many ribs, dinner for 6 at least.